Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. Today we will be breaking down some movies that are allegedly based on a true story, but are actually historically inaccurate. Buckle up as we begin because some of these may shock you. We are jumping right in and starting off strong with an animated Disney movie that is beloved by many. The plot of Pocahontas is all about an English settler, John Smith, who comes to explore the New World. Along the way, he meets and falls in love with a young Native American woman named Pocahontas. Their romance blooms, and together they attempt to create and maintain peace between the colonists and the Powhatan tribe. So how was the movie different from what actually happened? For starters, Pocahontas was not even her real name, just a nickname, which means playful one. Her actual name was Amonute, or Matoaka when used in a more intimate and private setting. It is also incredibly unlikely that there was a romantic relationship between her and John Smith, aside from the obvious reasons, such as the fact that John Smith and his people were there to plunder her land. She also would have been only 10 or 11 in 1607. Next on our list is the 2012 movie Argo. The film is about a CIA agent and exfiltration specialist, Tony Mendez, who eventually ends up rescuing 6 American diplomats in Tehran, Iran during the 1979-1981 Iran hostage crisis under the guise of filming a science fiction movie. While this movie is technically based on very true events, it is pretty historically inaccurate. In real life, Canada's involvement was a key part of the rescue mission, but this is severely downplayed in the movie. The 6 Americans who were rescued were all being housed by Ken Taylor, a Canadian ambassador, with the aid of Canadian diplomat John Sheardown. Additionally, the Canadians obtained copies of visas for them, and Taylor's wife even purchased 3 sets of airline tickets for them. Finally, the hectic and dramatic airport scene in the movie is not what happened at all. The real-life Mendez states that their departure and escape from Iran went as smooth as silk. Moving on to the third movie on the list, Cool Runnings is another movie based on a true story that has some historical inaccuracies. The movie depicts 4 Jamaican sprinters who end up not qualifying for the 1988 Summer Olympics. The athletes then seek out the help of a disgraced coach to help them start up the first Jamaican bobsled team. This feel-good film is certainly interesting to watch, but the scriptwriters and filmmakers took quite a bit of creative liberty making this movie. Most of the movie characters are not real people, and the athletes weren't actually failed sprinters at all. Instead, they were recruited by the Army. The movie shows that the teammates were ridiculed by other teams, but in real life, they received a warm reception. Next up, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This bone-chilling horror movie is about a group of friends who fall victim to Leatherface, a murderer who is part of a family of cannibals. While the plot of this movie is 100% made up, Leatherface was inspired by a real-life murderer by the name of Ed Gein. Gein was known for keeping keepsakes and trophies made from the bones and skins of his victims. Director Tobe Hooper says that the misinformation in the movie was deliberate and a response to being lied to by the government about things that were going on all over the world, in reference to events such as Watergate and the Vietnam War. Set during the Golden Age of England, Elizabeth the Golden Age gives us a personal glimpse of the life of Queen Elizabeth I. As she finds her rule challenged by the Spanish Armada, she must prepare England to go to war. While carrying out royal duties, she also finds herself wrapped up in a budding romance with Sir Walter Raleigh, who later becomes a war hero who sails directly into the Spanish fleet of ships alone. This makes for a compelling movie, but in reality, the Queen was nicknamed the Virgin Queen because of her tendency to place her royal duties far above her own romantic desires. There is also no evidence of a romance between the Queen and Raleigh happening in real life. The real Raleigh was also tasked with organizing land defenses during the battle, while Sir Francis Drake and Lord Howard, who aren't in the movie, led the English fleet. The next movie that is historically inaccurate is Braveheart. In the classic movie, the bold Scottish rebel named William Wallace starts a revolt against King Edward I of England. Braveheart is said to be based on a true story, but in real life, the timeline of the movie does not match up with real history. The kilts and blue face paint worn by the Scottish in the films also would not have existed in the real William Wallace's life, and the real Wallace was actually not nicknamed Braveheart. Instead, Robert the Bruce was actually nicknamed Braveheart, and although he is a Scottish hero, he is portrayed as a traitor in the film. Moving on, The Greatest Showman is yet another movie that is not completely true. In the film, P.T. Barnum is an ambitious and successful entrepreneur who creates a circus that goes on to become a worldwide phenomenon. The problem is the movie skips over Barnum's dark past. In real life, Barnum was known to exploit marginalized groups of people to draw crowds, most notably Joyce Heath, an elderly black woman whom Barnum leased and then marketed as George Washington's 161-year-old nursemaid. Even after Heath's death, Barnum still found a way to earn money off her by charging admission for people to see them do a live autopsy on her body. The movie glamorized a man who was a cruel racist in real life. The movie Artemisia is about a young woman, Artemisia, who is the daughter of of the Italian painter Orazio Gentileschi. Her father encourages her to follow his trade and also become a painter, and she goes on to fall in love with Agostini Tassi. Tassi is one of her father's students and later faces unfair rape allegations after being found in bed with her. The film shows that they are consensual lovers, but in real life, Tassi was charged and convicted of raping Artemisia. According to the court transcripts, Artemisia admitted under both oath and torture that she had been raped. Amadeus is yet another movie that is supposedly based on a true story but took plenty of creative liberties. In the movie, classical composer Antonio Salieri grows jealous of a rival's talent. This jealousy evolves into revenge, and Salieri ends up admitting to the murder of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. However, there is no evidence of any real-life bitterness between the two composers. In fact, Mozart even mentioned in a letter that he picked up Salieri and his wife one time on the way to the show, which suggests that they were on friendly terms. 10th on the list of movies that are actually historically inaccurate is Captain Phillips. This film portrays Captain Richard Phillips and his crew on the MV Maersk, Alabama, who get hijacked by Somali pirates while sailing around the Horn of Africa. In the movie, Captain Phillips gives himself up as a hostage in order to protect the rest of the ship. In real life, the crew members filed a lawsuit against Maersk Line and the Waterman Steamship Corps. They claim that Phillips wasn't the big leader like he is in the movie and has a tendency to be sullen and ill-tempered. The sailors also state that it was Phillips' own irresponsible behavior that led to them being attacked. In Fargo, a car salesman by the name of Jerry Lundegaard hires two criminals to kidnap his wife. This is part of a scheme he has in order to collect ransom money from his wealthy father-in-law. The plans go awry when the criminals shoot a state trooper in the presence of witnesses, leading to a police investigation. The events in the movie are allegedly linked to two real-life crimes, but the Coen brothers have come forward and explicitly stated that Fargo is completely made up and is simply just a story. I'm sure that a few people are going to be upset over finding out that this movie is not 100% accurate. In the movie 300, King Leonidas leads his army of 300 Spartans into battle against the 300,000-strong force of Persians at Thermopylae. In reality, the 300 Spartans also had an additional 7,000 other Greek allies who fought alongside them that are never mentioned in the movie. The movie also inaccurately depicts King Xerxes as a hairless giant and falsely includes charging rhinos and elephants in the battle. Next on the list is the movie Anastasia. In this movie, an orphan named Anya is believed to be the last surviving daughter of the Russian royal family. Two con men attempt to claim a reward from the Dowager Empress, while Rasputin, a dangerous sorcerer, tries to stop them. However, in real life, Anastasia was placed under house arrest with the rest of the family in 1917 during the Russian Revolution. A year later, Anastasia and her entire family were executed by Bolshevik troops and buried in unmarked graves. It was originally believed that Anastasia and her brother Alexei had survived and managed to escape, but this was disproved when DNA tests for fragments of bones came back positive for the two missing Romanov children. In The Revenant, the final movie on our list today, explorer Hugh Glass is left for dead after being mauled by a bear. Fueled forward by the murder of his son, Glass survives and embarks on a mission of survival and revenge. In real life, there is no evidence that a bear attack occurred in 1823. There is also no evidence that Glass had a Pawnee wife or a half-Pawnee son, let alone a son that was murdered. Historians claim that Glass did go hunt down the men who abandoned him and left him for dead, but that he eventually forgave them and went on with his life. Wow, can you believe all these movies are historically inaccurate? Let us know if your favorite movie made the list, or what other movies based on true stories are actually historically inaccurate. See you next time.